Welcome to Music Overload, everyone. Today we've got a very special guest, Jordan. I've been trying to talk to Jordan for almost a year now, but because of the pandemic and a lot of other stuff, we weren't able to do it. So I've been following him religiously since then. I know you dropped a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about all of that. And I'm your fan, and I know my friends are. So we're really excited to have you here. Welcome, Jordan.
Thanks, Shaq. It's such a pleasure to be here, man.
Oh man, you have no idea. I've been excited to talk to you. Like in the last few days, when you confirmed, I've been telling my friends, guys, we finally got Jordan coming.
Thank you.
That's true. Yeah. So let's dive into it. You released a lot of music. I want to talk to the last two especially, but why don't you tell me about your before for our audience? Tell me about your background first a little bit. Like how'd you get into the music scene? And then from there we can touch on like all the new releases that you talked about.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I come from like the most musical family I've ever heard of. Like it's wild. I was really born into a family where I was singing before I learned how to speak. It was amazing. I've got these memories of sitting around a campfire with my mom and her she's one of 5 brothers and sisters, and her father singing like The Rose and all of these beautiful classics in 5-6-part harmony, and just having goosebumps around this campfire, like listening to the power of the human voice. And
so this is like planned. It's not.
I guess, yeah. Well, the crazy thing is, I had one uncle who was in a very famous country band, famous for Canada. It was international.
Which one is it?
It's called Emerson Drive.
Okay.
And he was. I mean, all of my aunts and uncles, and my mom included, made money off of music in some way, like being music teachers or choir leaders or something like that. But he was the person that took it the furthest, and he was the one that kind of recommended, as soon as I started picking up a guitar and showing interest in doing this for a living, He was kind of the one that recommended.
How old were you?
I think when I started to let it be known that I wanted to be a musician, I was like 15, something like that. Okay. I was writing songs before then, singing before then, but I started to like make a statement that I want to follow in your footsteps, Uncle Chris. I want to be like a professional musician.
But at that point, how long have you been playing?
I'd been, yeah. I mean, it's interesting, man. There are little like videos and pictures of me playing the piano when I was like 2. Wow. 3, like they would just kind of sit me there, and I would just like have this big smile on my face, and they got me this like plastic toy drum kit that I beat through in like a week. I think I was pretty infatuated with it at a really young age. But it was interesting. It was never like a weird thing. It was just everybody around me was a musician.
Just like the normal,
it was a conversation.
That was like the toy.
Totally. Yeah.
The regular toy.
It was like it was a language. You know? Like we were. It wasn't abnormal. It didn't seem special in any way until I kind of got into junior high and realized that not everybody sings all the time. You know.
This is. But did you have a high school band?
I did. I had a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, wait. But so when you said at 15, you kind of made a stand that you wanted to.
That's right. Yeah.
Pursue this kind of like full time. How was the feedback?
Horrible. It was horrible. I mean, the first feedback that I got, I grew up, my first passion was soccer. Like I just wanted to be a professional soccer player with all my heart and soul. And my dad, is an extremely supportive father. Like anything that my brother or my sister or I have been into, he's put 100% of his self behind that. And just helped encourage us along, find us resources that would help us to be successful. And so he had thrown so much energy behind me being a professional soccer player that I think the day that I came home from school and said, hey, Dad, like I'm switching careers, I'm going 100% into music, he saw it as flaky. He didn't feel the shift in me that I felt. And so he was just like, hey, what is this kid doing? Like, we've worked so hard on this. What are you doing switching? And so there was that feedback. And then I had this, he was kind of my best friend at the time, and now that I realize that like a lot of our relationship was unhealthy. Like it was a lot of him kind of being jealous of certain things and bringing me down constantly. And so he was kind of the first person that really was like, you're an idiot. Like how could you think you could be successful in music kind of thing. And then the third thing that I was going to talk about was my Uncle Chris, who had done it. And he kind of sat me down. He's like, Jordan, like this is a really hard career. It's not always fun.
But he was kind of successful, right?
He was really successful.
Yeah, so like
that's right.
Yeah, and even he was saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it was crazy.
But I guess you went through all of that, but you still kind of succeeded, Jordan.
Yeah.
What's the?
I mean, I wanted to be a professional soccer player from Canada, so like I never really look outside for what I can. I guess
like what do Canadian soccer? Like they just move to Europe? Like what do they do? Like
I mean,
like if you're really good at soccer in Canada.
TFC maybe. Yeah. At the time, I was aiming even lower. I just wanted to be. There's like I I think people make a living off of it, but there was like a football club or a soccer club in Edmonton where I was from that would have been a league lower than the TFC. There were like, I want to say maybe 1,000 people at every game, kind of like that level of
so not too
support.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been fun though, man. I just loved the game.
Yeah, it's important. But
do you still play till this day?
I haven't in a long
No.
time. I play basketball now because everybody
really?
around here does it just to keep active. Yeah.
yeah, is there? So I guess after that, at what point did you know? So did you get scared when your uncle told you that this was gonna be? You should go to him and say, "Here, like see, you said it was gonna be tough, but it wasn't. It's not."
He's like my man. He's like my biggest supporter now.
Oh,
so
yeah?
it's kind of cool. There was like a day that it shifted. I remember I was playing. I was jamming with him and his brother, my other uncle, and they were just playing something that I didn't know what song it was. I'd never heard it before, and I asked what the chords were, and both of them just kind of like looked at me and didn't say anything. I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" And I was at the piano, and Uncle Chris was just like, "It's in the key of B flat." And I was like, "Okay, but what are the chords?" He's like, "It's in the key of B flat." It's like, damn. So I just kind of like put my hands on the keyboard and started messing around, and then realized, oh my God, like, no, I know exactly where this chord is and this chord is. And then he's like, take a solo. And I took a solo, and this is the first time that I'd ever kind of like figured it out on my own. And he's like, okay, man. And he didn't like give me validation in person right away, but later, like since that moment, my parents have always told me like since then that Uncle Chris like says nothing but good things about my music and like always praises me and stuff like that. So I think that was the moment where he was like, okay, yeah, now this kid's serious and he gets it, you know.
That's amazing. When was this?
It was at his house. I was on his piano. It would have been Christmas. I think I was 16, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
How was the jump, Jordan, for you to come from a musician family to make a living out of it, or to make a professional transition to that?
Yeah.
How was that?
It's interesting. I don't know about it didn't feel like it was like an immediate jump. It was really a gradual thing. But from my shoes where I'm standing right now, it's you know, one of the things that a friend of mine told me at the time when I said I wanted to become a professional musician was that it would ruin my love of music. He's just like, I just don't want you to lose this, you know, this ability to turn on a record.
Was it because like you might have to like play gigs that you don't want to? Like
I think from his perspective, it was just that you would spend so much time thinking about it that it would be impossible to receive it without being analytical about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a job, right? So,
right. Yeah. And there are all sorts of things that come with that, like hoops you have to jump. It's not only the gigs, but also like all the things you have to think of. Like, I mean, I would say 5% of my job is actually playing music right now. You know, like it's a lot of I have fun with all of it, but it's a lot of things that, you know, I didn't think of when I started.
We like I guess would you say like the running the business side of photography would be the other part?
Right. That's right.
Is that the other 95% you're talking about? Like
Yeah.
the marketing and then all of that.
Yeah, I still get to be like creative in that, so it's not all like, you know, crunching numbers or signing contracts. Like some of it is you know, doing the artistic, like the visual aesthetic design behind the music and stuff like that, which takes a lot of time and is a lot of fun as well. Or like I'm working on a music video with a friend of mine, and you know, it has very little to do with the music, but it's like a creative endeavor like that I didn't see coming. It's like a completely separate you know, medium. It's pretty fun though.
Nice. And you went to Berkeley?
Yeah,
I remember that.
that's right.
But did you say you dropped out after you didn't finish it, or am I like incorrect?
Yeah, no, not at all. So it was I got like a scholarship from my community in Edmonton to go to this 5-week performance program at Berkeley.
Yeah.
And I went there, learned a lot. It was a lot of fun. And there was this crazy story where like I worked my butt off there, man. Like I learned as much as I could, and
Was it like a summer camp?
It was a summer camp. That's right.
Nice.
It was like a 5-week intensive where I think they like tried to condense a year of like theory and a year of all this other learning into 5 weeks. Yeah. Wow. So it was really, really intense, really fast moving, but it was a lot of fun. But the craziest thing about it was is an internationally known school, and so you have like the best of the best, or like, you know, a very high level of kids coming from all over the world gathering at this performance camp. And I just like looked around, and I was all of a sudden like nobody, like I didn't know a thing, right? And there was this one kid that I looked up to named Desmond Scaife Jr., who was, as far as I was concerned, was the best singer in the world. Like he was like, at the time, I think he was 17, 18 years old. And
were you focusing on like singing at this point?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
That's
cool.
right, yeah.
Please go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw him sing a Stevie Wonder song, and I was like so floored by what he could do with the male voice, things that I didn't think were possible with this instrument that I had. That I was just like, man, if I can learn something from him or like come away knowing something from him, like I'll be happy with this entire experience. And so I like really quickly befriended him. We became pretty close and learned a lot from him about how to access like my higher register and things like that.
Nice.
And at the end of the program, there were these scholarships that were awarded, and they do it through this whole ceremony, which takes like 6 hours, and you have the different performances, and then they'll announce kind of who got these scholarships, and it starts at like $1,000 towards tuition, and it goes up in like increments of about 1,000. And we got to the point where it was like a $50,000 scholarship, and I was like, okay, my name hasn't been announced. I obviously didn't get a scholarship, but I'm just gonna be supportive of like my friends that I'm sitting here with, kind of thing, and. It got up to $64,000, and Desmond's name was mentioned, and he just kind of like stood up, and I was like, bro, like holy shit, Desmond got a $64,000 scholarship. That is crazy. And then everybody started cheering again, and I didn't even realize, but they mentioned my name right after his for the same scholarship.
That's amazing, man.
And it was like,
and you didn't even, because you were so excited
I was
for your
so
friend,
excited.
right?
We were all, like, my whole crowd of people were all like just like cheering, like going crazy, and. It was just one of those moments, man, where like it taught me, like it made me believe in a whole new way that I could do this.
Yeah.
And so I got this scholarship, but decided in the end not to go to the school because I realized that in order to perform live, and I had started to perform live quite often, like 5 times a day in Edmonton. In order to play live, I would have had to get a visa in the States, and so I decided that performing live was a more important education to me than actually going to Berkeley.
Oh, so like I guess if you were going to go to the US, you would have the student visa.
Oh, maybe I could have played.
And with the student visa, you're not allowed to play live?
For some reason, I was very confident that I wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the main contributing factor. I was like, I really want to continue to be in front of people and play and not kind of get lost in the school atmosphere too much. Yeah.
Thanks, story. How old were you at this point? So right after high school, I mean.
That's right, 18, yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
You've already seen so much about music by that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Jordan, you want to tell us more about your new album that just came out in March, right?
That's, I think, I can't remember when the full thing dropped.
I think last time when I met you, Jordan, you were talking about working on this. I think you were talking about like, we're like, you have like a bunch of songs, like, you're kind of finalizing what tracks to go through.
Yeah.
But I think you were working on that last summer.
Oh, wow. So it was only recorded last summer.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, well, I was pretty fortunate to have that opportunity because I have this other EP that's coming out very soon. I'm not exactly allowed to say when, but we have it all scheduled out. It's coming out really, really soon, that I made with a really close friend of mine. His name's Michael Saunier, and it's like a really in-depth exploration into like 7 different production styles that we were interested in at the time. And because of that, it's just a really complicated jump to make from this guy with an acoustic guitar to all of that. And so this record label that I have the pleasure of working with kind of recommended that I start with something that's a little bit more acoustic and a little bit more organic feeling. And so I because of that, I had the ability to create it and release it like within a few months, which was really nice to be able to do.
You did that in the studio?
I did it in my home, actually.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because everything was closed during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
It still sounds beautiful. The material that you have there, it sounds highest quality.
Wow, thanks so much.
Yeah, I really like it.
I appreciate
Too,
that.
the advancement of technology is like really benefiting artists in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have a doubt that you're not gonna get studio quality?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I still don't think I did.
Man, you're self-doubt, man. Since 18. You say, are you sure you want to give me a scholarship? Is there another Jordan Hart around?
No, it's true, man. I mean, I don't think that it's unique, man. I think, like, I know a lot of artists that I've looked up to have all spoken about it. Like, probably my two biggest inspirations musically in my entire life are probably John Mayer from a younger age and more recently Justin Vernon from Bon Iver. And both of them I heard recently, especially Justin Vernon, talk about like these anxiety attacks that they'd go through around self-doubt and all these things. I don't think that ever goes away, bro.
So much weed. Like,
No, seriously. Maybe it's either that's why or the other way around where like that happened because.
Yeah, correlation to the causation.
Exactly.
Like, you gotta do a study, but all right. So let's talk about the EPs. Like I want to especially talk about Freedom.
Sweet.
So how did they? It sounds like, you know, obviously you're so close to that track and like there's a story behind that track. So do you mind like telling us like what was like how did that track come about?
Sure.
Like since inception?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The most successful songs that I've ever written have all come the same way, and it's just as a literally improvisation. Like I find that when I sit down and try to write a track really intentionally, it doesn't feel as good. It doesn't flow as well. It's like it feels a bit more like a collage, like a bunch of things that weren't meant to be together, sewn together, and
It feels forced. Like,
totally, yeah, exactly. And the songs like Freedom and a couple others on the record, literally just came from me sitting down, not thinking about anything, and just singing syllables and allowing the syllables to become lyrics. And it's like the wildest thing. It doesn't feel like I'm writing them. It feels like they just come through me.
Yeah.
And that was one of them where like I didn't really know what it was about until after I had it and like sat down and looked at the page and like read the lyrics back to myself. But for me, man, it was just honestly like this. I don't know. We talk about self-doubt. That's one of the walls or chains, you could say, that prevent me from feeling totally free, you know, free to breathe, free to just be myself, free to feel connected to people like you, free to just like allow myself to be okay with not connecting or be okay with whatever this moment has, right? I think that whole song was just kind of like a riff on the struggle and the euphoria of the successes of trying to find my own freedom, if that makes sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's very well put, man.
Yeah.
Like combining the two. That's amazing. And the concept for the video, how did that come about? Like those like incredibly talented people. Are these guys in Toronto? The guys you work with? They are?
Yeah.
We gotta get them on this
Montreal.
too.
Montreal.
Are they in Montreal?
Well, some of them are in Toronto. It was a huge team of people. Like,
Yeah.
I had no idea how much time and effort animation took. Like, it's crazy, bro. Now that I look at like all the Pixar and Disney animations, I'm like, I have no idea how somebody has like that much.
Yeah, it was like full animation. When I remember
Yeah.
when I saw it on your Instagram.
Yeah.
And then you know when you just like look at just the story like without clicking on it, like
Right.
on the main page, and I saw that and it kind of reminded me of this like old school video from the 80s. You know, Aha, like Take on Me, and then kind of drawing was similar to them. I'm like, oh, that looks really cool, and I put it on, and I was just like, wow, this is so amazing.
Wow.
How did the concept of the video come about? And go ahead.
I mean, it was a crazy story, man. There was I'm really connected to this organization called L'Arche, which is an organization that provides loving communities centered around people with intellectual and physical disabilities. And I've been really close to L'Arche and the core members of that community since I was born. My dad helped found one of the L'Arche communities, and our family has been really involved with them. And so.
And this is nationwide, Canada. Like it's not just in Calgary.
It's not just in Canada either. It's actually international.
Oh,
it
okay.
started in France and is all around the world, man. And it's such a cool organization. It feels like a magnet for really good people. So as I grew older and had these opportunities to kind of share the spotlight with certain people and collaborate more intentionally with organizations, they were the first people that I thought of. And I had this incredible opportunity that came from this guy named Michael McDonald, who is I can't remember what his exact title is, but basically his job is to create visual content, videos and photos and stuff like that represent the lives of people with intellectual disabilities. And he's created some incredible documentary style videos about all of the beautiful things and the difficulties that these people go through.
Amazing.
Such a cool guy and
he
really
found
beautiful
you
art.
online?
So he connected with my mom and dad like way back, and then about a year before we met, connected with my sister who was working with the organization, and then through my sister heard my music and was a huge fan, and he reached out and mentioned what his job was and asked if we could make a video to celebrate World Down Syndrome Day. So we sat down, had an amazing meal, and just kind of talked about what that would look like. And as things do, it just ended up falling to the wayside. He lives in Montreal primarily, and so we kind of had this amazing conversation, this crazy walk in the rain in Toronto. It was like a rainstorm. We walked for like an hour.
Is this like last year?
This was this would have been, I think, 2 years ago now.
Oh,
maybe.
wow. I guess
No,
because
it was a year, so it would have been like really early May of 2019, so it was about a year ago. 2020, sorry. Yeah, 2020. Because what the crazy thing about it is it fell to the wayside, but then...
Because of the pandemic?
Because, no, it's just something, like we both kind of just got busy. You know what I mean? Both of us intending to do this, but we just kind of like, we got busy, swept away in other things, and that was always like an intention of ours to come back to. My labels say, listen, we really love your song Freedom. We want it to be what's called a focus track on your EP, which means you have to make a music video for it. I immediately got really nervous because I was like, two things. One, this is an extremely intimate topic, and two, I don't want people to think that I'm assuming my struggle for freedom is equal or greater than other people's, especially, coming from the history that I come from. I'm a man, I have my skin color, like all of these things. Like, I know there are people out there who go through a lot harder shit than me, and who am I to kind of go up there and make a video about the struggle for freedom that I have in my life, even though from my perspective, and it has been real and difficult. I just didn't want people to assume that I didn't see how difficult others went through. And so I was kind of searching for these ways to share that spotlight or share that opportunity to speak about this thing without it feeling cliche or feeling like, I was going out of my way to support these things for the light of it all, or like the image of me supporting these things.
Yeah, that's really deep way of thinking about it.
Well, I mean,
kudos to you, respect to you,
thanks,
because not everyone thinks like that. Everyone just like jumps on the bandwagon and do something to that. But this is really good, man. This is gold.
Thanks, man. I mean, it just there were genuinely my concerns about this, and I remember like it was late at night when I write my best songs, like 2 a.m. Half of me goes to sleep, and the other half of me is just free to like.
Is there
fly.
any alcohol or THC involved?
Sometimes, definitely. Sometimes.
Because you need something for the creative uses, right?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely, yeah, dude. Usually, weed and wine are like, there's something about it.
Of course, yeah.
But tonight there wasn't. I had a meeting. My record label's in the UK, and so usually my meetings when are early morning there are like 5 a.m. Toronto time, right? So I had a meeting. I think that was at like 5 a.m. the next day, and it was 2 a.m. and my brain wouldn't shut up, man. I was just trying to sleep. My wife was up, she was reading, and she was just kind of noticing that I couldn't get to sleep, and she's like, Jord, you gotta go to sleep. I was just tossing and turning, and I was finally like this close, I swear, to falling asleep, and my brain I just had this lightning bolt rush through my body, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do for my music video for Freedom. And I literally like shot out of bed, and I was like, I need to message Michael McDonald. And Emily was like, you can do that tomorrow, go to sleep. I was like, no, like I gotta do it. She's like, Jordan, you need to sleep, man. You're gonna be a wreck tomorrow. So I went to sleep, but then the next day after my meeting, the first thing I did was message Michael. And as I did that, I opened up the email, I realized it was almost a year ago to the day since he had messaged me for the first time, asking about creating this thing.
A year?
Pretty close, within a week.
Yeah.
And messaged him, and then found out that Freedom was set to be released, I think a week to the day before World Down Syndrome Day, which was crazy because that was like the whole point of us was
Who makes the date, Jordan? Like, is it the label, or you, like, who decides?
The label.
The label?
Does, yeah,
okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, they kind of just like lay out, here's the date and the timeline based on their own inner workings and what works best, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, also all these like stars lined up, and I messaged Michael, and he had his brother. The day that, like, at almost the exact moment as I had the epiphany, his brother and his brother's wife had decided to adopt a young kid with Down syndrome.
No way.
And it was just like literally this like click of the universe, and all of this came together. We kind of were like, we're making
this kind of shit makes me want to believe. You know that movie Secret?
Yeah.
Have you seen that Secret movie? Like, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Like, there was just all these things about if you want something, if you visualize it, it will happen.
Crazy.
Like, and obviously you have to work for it, but like this is like, because you were working for it. Like, and then you have the song ready, but for some reason, like the release date and then the other day, they kind of all fell together.
Couldn't have been better, man.
Those things, that's crazy, man.
Right?
And so at this point, how much time did you have to make the video, like, before you were gonna release it?
Yeah, so I think we had like 3 months, something like that. Like, it was not a lot of time.
For a video like that, I was gonna say, animation video like that, yeah.
And we initially weren't gonna do an animation. We were going to do I got the date wrong. We didn't meet in May. We met, whenever we had met was like the day that I had messaged him was like a week before then, but we were planning to release something for World Down Syndrome Day, which was in May. which is where I got that date from. But from that day to that day, we had about 3 months, and we were trying to do a full a live action film, specifically because we didn't want people to think this was just a fairy tale. Like, we wanted them to see this is real. These are real lives. These are real people. And we were afraid that the animation would kind of make it feel a bit storybook, like you could remove yourself from that reality. We had this whole like large community that we were going to for the actors from Large Atlanta and the directors and stuff like that. And just as we were about to start production, they all had to shut down because of the pandemic.
Of course.
And so we had like no time left pretty much to do a music video, and all we could do was an animation, and we searched internationally to all of these different studios basically saying, here's our budget, here's our timeline, can you do it? And everyone's like, you're crazy. There's no way. To make a 2-minute animation usually takes a year.
Yeah.
And
I know animation takes a long time. But that long?
Yo, that's what they were telling us.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, anyways, and long story short, this incredible company called Tonic DNA,
Based out of Montreal. Based out of Montreal?
Based out of Montreal, that's right. And they at first they said they couldn't do it. They're like, it's impossible. We want to, we just can't. And then they kind of called back and they're like, we really, really want to do this. Like, it's impossible, but if we were to do it, this is how we would do it. And then they called back and they're like, I think this is how we're going to do it. It's impossible, but maybe we could. And then they called back like, we're doing it. Like, anything we can do. And the budget got stretched from like 5 different ways. And all of a sudden there was like this insane, hundreds of different people went into making this actually possible. And it couldn't have been done without every single one of those people. It was pretty amazing.
That's an amazing story, man. I guess it shows how incredible the video is, and the music and the lyrics and everything. It's my favorite track.
Thanks,
One
man.
of them, at least.
Appreciate that. That's
I'm not saying your other tracks are not my favorite.
All of them are my favorites.
I can tell you're an artist, man. Usually people are like, this is my favorite track, and they think that it's just a compliment.
Yeah.
But they don't know the artist here, like, oh, you mean you really
Yeah, you don't like
my other kids?
Yeah, exactly. When you say, this is my favorite song, what I hear is, I hate all your
Exactly. What about the other one? I put a lot of time in the other one too.
Exactly. No, man, it means a lot.
But
Thank
it's
you,
a beautiful thing, and I think it's just also not only the music and the video, it's just the sentiment behind it too. It was crazy. It touched me because, as you said, in many ways, even though a lot of us are lucky enough not to go through those similar struggles or those kind of struggles,
sure.
we all go through our struggle, and just that song kind of speaks for anyone going through that and gives them hope. So any struggle you're going through, that's a beautiful song. So that's my favorite.
Thank you, man. It means a lot, bro.
But we like the other ones as well. Jordan, what would you say is the soul or the core of the album as a whole piece of art?
I think I spent a lot of time thinking about this.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, well, we did my very first PR campaign, and so like my PR agency kind of asked me a bunch of these questions, and like basically were like, have these answers prepared. And I think what I distilled everything down to is it's just about relationships. It's just about connection. So the name Only Pieces of the Truth is sort of this riff on the idea that everything that we do, every little form of communication we have, or at least I would say 99.99% of them, are only pieces of your truth. I can only say so much with English, let alone, over text, let alone when I'm actually physically in front of you and you're seeing my body language and hearing my inflections and I'm seeing how you're responding and things like that. Even then, I feel like we're only grasping a small amount of each other's reality. And this record almost completely explores the difficulties and the friction that comes from that lack of communication, as well as the incredible moments that come from when that communication is pure and successful. And then there's Freedom on there, which is an outlier, which speaks about the same thing but internally, kind of that connection with yourself, how your own thoughts of yourself can become distorted, and all the different things. It's not like I didn't want it to be like a self-help book. It's not this is how to get to self-realization. It's, man, I'm in the dirt, and I just wanted to say, like, you're not alone. Like, I feel this. It's not always easy,
Man, you're so philosophical, Jordan.
I just feel things big, man.
And also, like, you know, you can portray them in your music. So kudos to you, man. What's next, Jordan? Like, I know, like, things are sort of opening up, kind of opening up. I don't know what's going on. Like, but because they change the rules every month or every week. Can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm just gonna say it here. You're the first people to hear it. That's
another first for you.
Hey, that a change is gonna come is gonna be the leading track of an acoustic EP that I'm putting out with a bunch of acoustic versions of the songs on the EP that I just released.
Oh, nice.
And then right after that, I get to release this next EP that I was telling you about that I recorded with my friend Michael Saunier, and it's gonna be like right on the heels of each other. So for the next few months, like for the next year, I think I'm gonna have something new coming out on like a really consistent basis, which I'm really excited about. And then after that, I mean, even hopefully before that or in the midst of that, I just want to get to playing music again, man. If I can get to opening act things or just playing shows, I just can't wait to get to play live.
And you're right now fully like based on Toronto, based out of Toronto, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, because your label is in the UK.
That's right.
Any plans of going to the UK or
Definitely.
Europe? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you talk to them about that at all?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of as soon as things open up, we were wanting to get me out there writing sessions.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I would love that.
Do you have any other questions for Nando?
No.
I can't wait to hear this guy.
Me too. Let's do it.
Thank you so much for joining for coming.
Thank you, Jordan.
We're gonna hear you play and we'll go from there.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Thank you.